This is a test. This is a test. So now we are recording. So watch what you say. Okay, excellent. Now, Bruce, you're in the top left over here. Okay, so we're going to, you have the floor, Bruce.
You're on mute. There we go. Hi, my name is Bruce Curry, and I'm in the McAllen community here in South Texas. And I just want to say one thing. I have glaucoma, and so my reading is very broken. And that's why it took me so long to find the mute button, because I can't see my little pointer so easily. So I don't know what else to say about myself other than I'm in South Texas. I'm happy to be here. And my wife and I have been here almost a year.
Very good. Thank you very much, Bruce. Where's Beatrice? Where are you? There she is. You're next. Beatrice, go for it.
Hi, my name is Beatriz Reina Curry. I grew up here in the valley, the Rio Grande Valley. We're living in McAllen. We've been away for 30 years in different parts of the world. And I'm happy to be here.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay.
Alapa.
Next, Alapa. I love it. Roya-chan, go for it.
Alapa, I'm Roya Khademi, and I also live in McAllen. I've been in McAllen for 35 years. I was blessed with having B and Bruce in McAllen when I first moved, and then they moved away, and now I'm blessed to have them back in McAllen community. McAllen is very close to the border of Mexico. We're about 10, 15 miles away from the border. So it's the very, very south part of Texas.
Good Mexican food down there, I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Roya-chan.
Lapa, I'm Mahnoz from Fort Bend.
Mahnoz, where are you? Wave, I can't see you.
It says Mahnoz May.
Oh, there you are. Yes, she's down there. I love
can
you.
See you.
You're pilgrimage.
Yeah. So thank you so much for providing these classes, Anjan. I'm excited. I'm from Fort Bend area. So be glad to be here.
Thank you, Mahnoz John. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next we have Miss Karen in the top right, at least my top right.
Aloha, dear friends. I live in Austin, Texas, the Austin Baha'i community here. We've been here for about 34, 35 years. Before that, we lived in the Caribbean on Curacao for about 5 years. And I feel a close kinship to with the friends from the Valley. I was born in Mercedes and grew up in Weslaco until I was 7, a long time ago. And it's just so wonderful to see your faces and hear your voices. Glad to be here. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Miss Karen. Now we're going to Coppell, Texas.
Aloha, friends.
Aloha.
So excited to be here. What an honor, seriously. My name is Farzad Rohani.
And I'm Ruhiye Rohani, his wife.
We live in Coppell, Texas, a small suburb of Dallas. We're about 15 minutes from Dallas. And as I said, we are extremely excited and happy to be here.
Wonderful to have you, Farzad John, Rui John. Thank you, thank you. Okay, and we saw my brother, Dr. Vafa Bayat. Where are you living?
So I live on Earth. I'm on the West Coast in Menlo Park,
Menlo Park.
Headquarters of Facebook.
Facebook, I've heard of that company.
Yes. And I'm Ehsan's other half, but not his married half. I'm his
No, not married to him. That's my older brother. That's my older brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vafajan. Okay, we're moving on to Pat.
Hi, I'm Pat O'Brien. I'm with Karen up here in Austin.
Oh, very good.
Really happy to be a part of this tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Very happy to have both of you. Okay, moving on to Saideh.
Saida Kamali from Allen, Texas, with my husband, Ehsan Kamali. We live in the United States for 30 years, and we are living in Allen, Texas for 6 years.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for doing this. By the way, I'm watching your video on YouTube.
Yes.
I'm on chapter 5 now.
Oh, very good.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Very good. Yes. Excellent, Saidi-jan. Thank you. Alan is,
Yeah.
I visited Alan. Very nice city. Very nice. Thank you very much. And Ehsan, we have something in common. Our name.
Yes.
Our name. That's about.
Yeah, your name. Yeah.
My name is Ehsan Kamali.
My name is Ehsan Bayat. We have that in common. So it was a joke.
Yeah, we live Allen, Texas.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, Saidi-jan, Ehsan. Okay. Moving on to Miss Deborah Burton.
My name is Deborah Burton. I'm from Irving, Texas. I've lived here and declared here 42 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, Miss Deborah. 42 years ago in Irving, Texas.
Yes.
It's amazing. That community has really grown. They have a nice Baha'i center there.
Fair. It's small, but it does the job.
It's a nice community. It's a nice community. Thank you very much, Miss Deborah. Okay, moving along, we go to Miss Yuda Miller. I see from the top half of your nose and up. So if you could angle your camera just a hair down, we'll see your beautiful lips. There we go. There you go. Thank you, Miss Yuda.
Hi, I'm in Georgia, outside of Atlanta. I used to live in Texas, and I still get your emails on and off. So I thought I'd join you because I'm right now studying the book you are going to be talking about. And I just thought I'd use some company to do it.
Very good. Thank you, Miss Yuda. You are, as they say, infiltrating in, because this was for select Texanites right now, you know? And you're not someone living in Texas right now, but we're very happy to have you, Miss Yuda. Very, very happy to have you. So and we look forward to hearing your insights into this great letter, okay? Thank you. Okay, moving along, we go to Miss Simin.
Aloha. I live in Benbrook, southwest of Fort Worth. I've been here for almost 20 years. And before that, I was in Vicksburg, Mississippi for 33 years.
Wow. Very nice. Okay. Miss Simin, I never get to ask everyone these questions, but what excites you and what do you want to learn from this course?
I have studied it a few times by myself. I like to listen to other people and get their opinion on the, paragraphs or the subject, get more out of it.
Exactly. That's really why I'm doing it. I do not consider myself any way a scholar or learned. It's really about you guys. I'm learning from you. So excellent. Thank you very much, Simin John. Okay. Moving on to Shaheen John Go For It. I would love to hear from you.
Aloha, Pa. My name is Shaheen Iranian. We moved to Texas last year and we are in Fort Bend right now. It's wonderful to see some familiar faces and new faces. I'm excited to make new faces, meet new people, make new friends, and also learn new stuff. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you, Shaheen Jan. Thank you.
Sure.
Excellent. Moving on, we have Combi's John holding a beautiful pose. Oh, are you moving? He is. He's smiling. There you go. Combi's John, please, you have the floor.
Hi, Yalapa, Kambis, Khademi from McAllen, Texas, and glad to be here. And thanks for your thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Combi's John. McAllen is really representing tonight, you know? Props to them.
All right.
Okay. And we heard from Mr. Pat. We heard from Beatrice. I have to get this right. Beatrice? How do you say it? I'm terrible with names. Go for it, Beatrice.
Beatriz.
Beatrice. I love it.
Thank you.
There you go. I'll learn it eventually. Okay. Kayvon John, go for it.
My name is Kayvon. I'm from Houston, Texas.
The epicenter of this great COVID. So, you know.
Yes, yes.
Good to see you, Kayvon John. Good to see you, Alapa.
Good to see you all there. Thank you, Alapa, everyone. And Essan, thank you so much for doing this. This is wonderful. There are people from all over. I love this.
Just seeing your faces makes it all worth it, really. You know, we haven't even studied anything tonight, but seeing your beautiful faces makes it all worth it. So we're going to obviously read something and learn something tonight, but truly, I'm so happy to hear you, all of you. So Jorge, Doris, Tesfaya, Bobak, and the phone number, if you could turn on your cameras so we could see your beautiful faces and make it more of a classroom environment, that would be great, okay? Yes, Miss Mary is next. Miss Mary, you have the floor. And you are muted right now, and your beautiful background picture.
Sorry. My husband's on the other computer, and I'm on here in the kitchen so I can have more room because I had an injury. I fell 2 weeks ago and hurt my back and my arm, so I need to kind of spread out. That's why I'm at the kitchen table. But my name is Mary McGregor, and I live in Benbrook. I'm in the same community as Samin. So we decided to take this course together as a community. And we've been in Benbrook, Dennis and I, since 2003. Before, we lived in Fort Worth for about 10 years. And then we moved to Benbrook.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Miss Mary McGregor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Pleasure. Okay. Miss Doris Jones, you have the floor. And if you could angle your camera just a hair down so we see your face.
Do you really want to see it?
We know we do.
That's why I had it off, because I can't get it right. We've had too many people sit in this chair.
You know, one of the funny things about this COVID, a little bit of me likes it because I can turn the camera off during feast and go and eat something, you know? But, you know, can't do that during feast, you know. But anyway, Miss Doris Jones, love to see you. Go, please introduce yourself.
I'm Doris Jones from Arlington, Texas, and I'm excited about studying this book with you all.
Very happy to have you. Very happy to have you. Miss Doris Jones, when were you born a Baha'i? How did you find the faith? How did that come about?
Well, I found the faith from a reprint in the Ebony magazine years ago. And we don't have to know how, in the 70s, that's when I found it.
Very good. Okay, excellent. I love it. Thank you very much, Miss Doris Jones. You see, these are just little inklings of personality that we get to hear from people. I love it. Okay, Mr. Dennis McGregor, you have the floor. We heard from Miss Mary McGregor. So you have the floor, Miss Dennis. Go for it.
Yes, I am Dennis, the other partner in crime from Benbrook. And we're on an hour or 2 hour patience from each other, Mary and I. So we will try to endure. We'll reconcile. But anyway, I grew up in Irving, actually. I know Deborah shared she became a Baha'i there. And just to let you know, Benbrook is in the Fort Worth cluster area. So we're in Tarrant County under that umbrella. But somebody who lived in Irving, who I grew up when I was a child. There's a family that lived in the duplex next door. And we moved to different parts of the city in Irving. My mother and this family stayed good friends, especially the wife. Actually, this lady became a Baha'i herself later. And I didn't hear from her, but I heard it from my mother. My mother never declared about her belief in Baha'u'llah, but she shared with me when I was a teenager that Nita became a Baha'i, and it shared me some basic information. Sound nice, and also mentioned Seals and Cross for Baha'i, so that was late 60s, early 70s time period. Then I thought, oh, that was nice, and then went on. Years later, it found me, or I found it again, when I moved to Denton, Texas, when I was going to college, and declared my belief in Baha'u'llah, 1983, in Quran and Joe Stevens' home.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay, Kevon John, and we got a few others, and then we'll start. I'm sorry, we have lots of friends tonight. So, Kevon John, you have the floor. Actually, we already did you, didn't we?
Yeah, right.
What is that song doing? Okay, we did Combies John. We did Combies John, is that right? Yes. Sarah P. Sarah P. Is she here?
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
There she is.
Thank you for having us. I've been listening to your talks online, and my mom and dad are Said and Ehsan, and my brother I think is on. He's Bobby. But I'm very happy you've been doing this. It's a big service. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a lot of insights to be learned from that letter, because it's really relevant to what's going on in the world today, and you can actually see, especially with everything that you've pulled in from the other writings, you've made it very clear that this is a very really important time in our world, and so it's a good time to be here.
Thank you, Sarah. This is actually why I picked this one, and I was recording it online, and then I was like, this is something so important. And sure, a lot of people might see my videos or whatever online, but having it in this kind of format, it adds so much, because having your insights, your learnings, your experiences, especially over the 3 weapons, you know, what the Guardian talks about. We'll get into those, but really getting into the double crusade, which we'll explore later, and getting into these, you know, themes that the beloved Guardian addresses. How can we as a community, Texas, you know, here we are, Texas, and I love it. How can we as Texas Baha'is in our communities really bring this into the forefront of our own community and create these opportunities of conversations, which the Guardian brings up in this letter. So this is something really, Sarah, how are you floating above the earth? It's pretty fascinating. This is...
my background's in my closet, and I'm working on taxes, so I don't want everybody to see everything, but I just told you guys what's going on. But it's an amazing world that we're living in. I live in Rockwall, and I think we just have to follow the current guidance and the teaching grassroots material, and we become very mindful about the concentric circles, and we identify friends who we can have those elevated conversations with. And very recently, over this past week, we were able to experience a formation of a new concentric circle where they kind of overlapped like a Venn diagram. And so I had only seen that in theory based on what I've read. And so when you can be in the field of action and experience that, it's incredible. So I'm glad you brought up how can we as Texans do what we can, because it just starts with an elevated conversation with one person and then it grows. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. Really happy. Okay, moving on. We have a few other souls. Next, besides, at least on my computer, besides Sarah is Qasim Bayat. That's my dad, by the way. So if you could unmute yourself. And there you go.
Aloha, friends.
Aloha.
Aloha. Could you introduce yourself and where you are from?
Well, this is Qasim Bayat. I live in Sugar Land, Texas, and it's almost 20 miles southwest of Houston. And I guess that's as good as introduction. Thank you.
That's good. Thank
you.
Yes, who called?
This is Shaheen. Can I just say a very short, funny memory or interesting one?
Real short. Love you, Shaheen. Go
when I was working for Baha'i TV, I was in charge of editing Dr. Qasim Bayat's programs about hidden words. I grew a lot of respect for him since then.
Thank you.
He's an all right guy. Okay, moving on. We have Babak. Babak John, do you have a video or could we just hear your beautiful voice?
Yeah, hi, it's Babak. I'm driving, so I'm not going to turn the video on. I live in Lucas, Texas, and Sarah's my sister, and Saida and Ehsan are my parents. And we have 4 other siblings, actually a total of 6 of us.
Okay.
So thank you for having us.
Very happy to have you. And on behalf of the Texas Baha'i community, drive safely. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, we love you. Thank you very much for being here. Jorge John, are you here? Jorge, you have the floor.
Oh, aloha, everybody. I apologize for no video. I'm having technical difficulties. And it has to do something with my settings, I think. I'm from Pasadena. I'm Jorge Cavazos from Pasadena. We're a little community southeast of Houston, Texas. Thank you for doing this. I was very happy to join today, and I'm looking forward to learning on this great message.
Thank you very much. Good to have you, Jorge John. And we look forward to seeing your face in the future sessions, for sure. Okay. And next we have Tesfaya. Tesfaya, are you there? Do you have video? Yes, no? Tesfaya, are you there? Yes? You need to unmute if you are talking. Three, two, one. Moving on. Okay. Tesfaya will come back to you if we hear you. Now we go to Julie Johnson. You have the floor, Julie.
Hi. Hi. Nice to see you. I know.
Tell us about who you are, where you're from.
Okay, I am a member of the Flower Mound, Texas Baha'i community.
Very good.
Assistant to Lorraine Sherrill, owner of Noisy Dogs. So if I suddenly mute, that's why.
Very good. Flower Mound is close to...
it's a north suburb of Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yes, that's
yeah, north of
what Flower Mound is. It's a suburb of Fort Worth, Dallas Metroplex area.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Julie, for joining us.
Oh,
and your noisy dog too. Okay, excellent. And I think, oh, there's a page 2. Did I miss anyone? Oh, I missed phone number 1965708-148. You have the floor, just so we can introduce, and we have one last person, Azin Surusia. So we'll just hit these 2 last people, and then we're going to start into the introduction. Okay. Is phone number 1956708-148 there? I take that as a no.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. They might just be listening. Okay, Ozzy and Surisyan, you have the floor. And you need to unmute yourself if you're there. Ozzy and John, are you there? Yes, no? 3, 2, 1. Okay, Ozzy and John is from Sugarland, Texas too. So, and she's in our community. So excellent. We have 27 people here tonight, which is wonderful. Oh, Farzad John or Rui John is, yes. Oh, they're counting. Look at that at the top right. So 27 wonderful souls. So we're now 29.
Well, I guess the last two didn't answer, sorry, 27.
All right. And also then there's also people doubling up in rooms like Zem Ruhi and Farzad John. And so we might have a few more. Okay. So let me share screen. Okay. I'm going to share screen of the presentation I have. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. Open. There we go. So this is Crimson Academy's course, Exploring the Advent of Divine Justice. Okay. In this section, dear friends, part 1, which we're going to be covering tonight. Part 1 will cover the historical context and significance of the advent of divine justice, a brief overview of the advent of divine justice, and the terminology, divine justice. What does that mean, divine justice, that the beloved guardian uses in the advent of divine justice? Okay? Our next part, so if you're like, oh, I need to get out my advent of divine justice and follow along, you don't have to tonight, okay? So next week, we're going to get into that, okay? So till next week, make sure you have an Advent of Divine Justice book, okay? Some people prefer reading it online, okay? And I prefer actually both. I don't know which one I prefer better. But I like taking notes sometimes in books. Some people don't like doing that, but I say, hey, the book are meant to be studied, you know? And I like underlining and highlighting and everything. That's me, okay? So make sure you have your own copy, okay? Next, your homework for next week is paragraphs 1 through 3, okay? I'm telling you ahead of time, paragraphs 1 through 3. Okay, so let's start. Very brief, this is the Crimson Academy, started in 2011. My name is Ehsan Bayat. Its mission of the Crimson Academy is to create a space online for its deep study of the texts. His Holiness Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, the beloved guardian. We've compiled notes, videos, audio throughout our courses, and everything we do is free. So this is just a very brief introduction to the Crimson Academy. As some of you have said, you can see our courses on YouTube. We're releasing a new course called Glimpses of Light, which has biographical information on historical individuals that are promoters of oneness of peace. It's very exciting. You'll see them on Facebook and on YouTube. So you'll see these. Okay, so moving along. Farzad John, you have a beautiful voice. Could you read this one? Oh, sorry, this one. Here you go.
Okay, start from the top, right?
Top, go for it.
Importance of studying the advent of divine justice. The course on character building, the guardian feels, is particularly important and should be given due emphasis and studied carefully and thoroughly, especially by the young believers in attendance at the school. Those standards of Baha'i conduct, which he himself had set forth in his last general epistle, The Advent of Divine Justice, and which it should be the paramount duty of every loyal and conscientious believer to endeavor to uphold and promote deserve serious study and meditation, and should constitute the main keep going. Constitute the main central theme of this year's program.
Go for it, Zambri. Go for it.
The principles and methods laid down by the Guardian in his Advent of Divine Justice on this vital subject of Baha'i ethics should indeed prove of invaluable inspiration and guidance to all the students and friends attending the summer school classes, and thus prepare them to better appreciate the privileges and more adequately discharge the responsibilities of the citizenship in the world order of Baha'u'llah.
Thank you.
A letter on behalf of the Guardian.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So you can see in this letter on behalf of the Guardian, you can see how important it is to study the Advent of Divine Justice. It's the paramount duty, paramount. It's the highest duty for every loyal and conscientious believer. So if you're loyal, if you're conscientious, it's the paramount duty. Most important duty is the serious study. Serious, not, oh, I read it 20 years ago. So this is, and it's invaluable inspiration and guidance. So that's why I've put some texts in highlighted. So let's go into an introduction, okay? Kayvan John, go for it.
The beloved Guardian Shoghi Effendi wrote the Advent of Divine Justice in 1938 as a letter to the North American Baha'is, the community chosen by Abdul Baha to undertake the tasks of the Tablets of Divine Plan. Understanding the standards set in the Advent of Divine Justice is fundamental to building an inclusive community based on spiritual principles and a pattern of behavior enunciated by Baha'u'llah in his writings. In this part, we share an overview of this letter, its significance and historical context are explained, and lastly, the concept of divine justice, that underlying theme of this letter, is explored.
This is something so important, dear friends. Understanding the standards, and we're going to explore these standards in great depth in several parts of this course, several parts. What are the standards outlined by the beloved Guardian? Understanding these is fundamental to building an inclusive community. This is so important, because if this Baha'i community is to be the model as a community for the greater community, we have to get this right, and we have to implement this in our community. So these are the standards that we're going to go through, okay? So let's go into some key points. Miss Julie, you have the floor. If you could read this page.
Some key points. Two major themes in the Advent of Divine Justice relate to the life of the individual Baha'i and the interaction between the American Baha'i community and the wider society. The Advent of Divine Justice addresses the faults, habits, and tendencies that the American Baha'i community must eliminate. The Advent of Divine Justice also deals with the distinctive qualities and characteristics that the American Baha'i community must cultivate and acquire.
Thank you. Thank you. The faults, the habits, and the tendencies. These are the words of the beloved guardian. The faults, the habits, and the tendencies that the American Baha'i community must eliminate. And so we'll see what these are as we go through this letter. Okay. Let me see. Simin John, can you, how is your reading?
Pretty good, yeah.
I love it. Go for it, Simin John.
Some key points. The beloved guardian chose the American Baha'i community as the chief instrument for building the Baha'i administrative order and expanding the faith based on the guidance of Abdu'l-Baha in the tablets of the divine plan. Justice has a lofty rank in the Baha'i teachings. Baha'u'llah refers to his revelation as the advent of divine justice. In the advent of divine justice, Shoghi Effendi identifies some of the major ideals and standards in the revelation of Baha'u'llah that underlines divine justice.
So you see here, dear friends, these are the key points that I've pulled, and it may not seem flowing together in this outline, but here it says, justice has a lofty rank in the Baha'i teachings, and Baha'u'llah refers to his whole revelation as the advent of divine justice. So when the title is the advent of divine justice, it's talking about the revelation of Baha'u'llah. So this is, and we're going to see what this, where did it first come up as the title, Advent of Divine Justice, in part 1. So let's carry on. You guys are reading so well, it helps my voice. So I'm very proud of you guys. Okay, so let's move on. Bruce, how are you doing, Bruce? You are muted, Bruce. We have to hear you. Oh, he's getting there.
His son, remember, he has difficulty reading.
I know. Oh, that's true. I love you,
Okay,
Bruce.
I'm back. I found it.
You're absolutely right, Sam John. Bruce, go for it.
Okay.
If you have any problem reading, just don't hesitate, okay?
Okay, it's just the eyes. Historical context and significance. Tablet of the divine plan. Abdu'l-Baha revealed, first, 14 tablets during 1916 to 1917 as a worldwide teaching plan for the Baha'is of the United States and Canada. The first 8 of these tablets were revealed between 26 March and 22nd April 1916, during a violent period of the First World War in Europe. The final 6 tablets were revealed between 2 February and 8 March 1917, a month before the entry of the United States into the war.
Thank you, Bruce. Mm-hmm. This is very important because this is setting the stage of historically why the advent of divine justice per se was written. And so we're going to, the tablets of the divine plan was written by His Holiness Abdu'l-Baha, and then we're going to find out what time frame from the tablets of the divine plan till the first 7-year plan. We're going to find out this, as they say, teaser. So let's read ahead. Roya John, go for it.
Okay. Historical context and significance tablets of the divine plan. 4 of these tablets were directed to the Baha'is of the United States and Canada. 2 were addressed to the Baha'is of Canada and Greenland. The remaining 8 tablets were addressed to the believers in the southern states, the central states, the western states, and the northeastern states of America. Abdu'l-Baha guided them to teach the faith and gave them the mandate to take the Baha'i faith to every corner of the earth.
Now, this is the words of the beloved guardian. This is his mandate. This is very important. And I urge you, where this course is not on Tablets of the Divine Plan, but I have a course on Tablets of the Divine Plan. You can find that one. And I urge you to study the Tablets of the Divine Plan. It is so amazing. Read the prayers in Tablets of the Divine Plan. We're all in the South, except my brothers in California. We're all in the South. Read the prayers for the South. Read the Tablet of the South. Every day, pray. This is truly something that study these tablets, because this, as the beloved guardian says, is the mandate for his entire ministry. Okay, thank you, Roy John, beautifully read. So we're moving on to Miss Karen. Let's hear Karen's beautiful voice. Go for it.
Historical Context and Significance, Tablets of the Divine Plan. 5 tablets in the first group reached the United States and published in the Star of the West. The remaining tablets could not be sent from Haifa as communications with the Holy Land were stopped due to the war. All the tablets were kept in a vault under the shrine of the Bab on Mount Carmel for the duration of the war. The tablets were sent to the United States after the war and were presented to the Convention of the Covenant, held at Hotel McAlpin in New York City on 26 through 30 April 1919.
And here's a picture of that hotel right there. This is where the tablets were presented. And it was an amazing time when the tablets of the Divine Plan were revealed. Also, we're going to see some interesting individuals and talk about the interesting individuals that arose at that point in time, such as Clara and Haydn, and that we're going to read about. We're going to go into much greater detail on lives and historically through these presentations and parts coming up. And so it's going to be very exciting. These are teasers, as they say. So Tablets of the Divine Plan. Who would like to read? Yuda, I have from Atlanta living. We'd love to hear you. Go for it, Yuda. You are muted, Miss Yuda.
Historical Context and Significance, Tablet of the Divine Plan. The believers were excited, inspired, and uplifted by the tablets, and few individuals such as Clara and Haydn and Martha Ruth immediately responded to the call of Abdu'l-Baha and set off travel teaching or to pioneering posts. However, the systematic interpretation of the plans was not possible, since the North American Baha'i community was in its infancy, and the mission described by Abdu'l-Baha in these tablets was well beyond their capacity. Although the faith was introduced to the United States in 1894, the community still lacked the necessary instruments and institutions to systematically undertake and administer those
lofty plans. Beautifully read, Miss Yuda Miller. Thank you. Truly, this was an incredible time. What I really I want to stress here is how on fire and immediate obedience the Duns were. Clara and Haydn, Martha Ruth immediately responded. They didn't have many teachings or writings at their disposal at that time. There wasn't an institutions to help them or accept. The only one was His Holiness Abdul Baha that was writing letters, and they wouldn't even receive them regularly because of the time of war and when His Holiness Abdul Baha was, there was problems at that time. So letters had trouble even getting to America. So this was something that truly was amazing with these souls, how they immediately arose. Here's a picture of the Dunns, Clara and John Dunn. We're going to go into great detail. I believe it's part 21. Martha Root, itinerant teacher of the cause. The beloved guardian describes her in matchless detail of how valiant she was in teaching. She is the hallmark, an example of what a teacher is in the cause. So these are lives that we should study, really study, and in a sense, we will never ever remotely come close to the station of Abdul Baha. These are individuals that we should try to exemplify in the sense of how we can live in the sense of teaching and her life of service. Okay, moving on is Shaheen Jan. Go for it. Let's hear your voice.
Sure. Historical context and significance tablets of the Divine Plan. Following the passing of Abdul Baha on 28 November 1921, Shoghi Effendi took over the affairs of the faith as the appointed guardian. He identified the will and testament of Abdul Baha as one of the charters of the World Order of Baha'u'llah and embarked on developing and establishing the embryonic institutions mentioned by Abdul Baha in that document. In his will and testament, Abdul Baha provided clear guidance on how the local and secondary House of Justice must be elected.
Thank you, Shaheen Jan. Now, if you really want a great historical context of where the beloved guardian, his mind, what was going on with this time and with the guardian, read Priceless Pearl, Rui Khanum's book. Just the beginning, okay? I'm not talking about the whole book. It's rather long, and you can find it on the Baha'i Library online, okay? You could just Google search Priceless Pearl by Ruhiyya Rabbani, and you can read the first few chapters, okay? And then you get a concept of what the beloved guardian really went through. And also, I've actually recorded the first few chapters of the Priceless Pearl, and it's on our Crimson Academy Facebook page. So if you don't want to read it, you can listen to it. Okay, so it's on our Facebook page. But that gives you a context of what the beloved guardian really was suffered. He suffered so much when His Holiness Abdul Baha passed. It was unbelievable. Because first, he had no expectation to be the beloved guardian. No idea. Even though His Holiness Abdul Baha had sent a letter, but that was prevented from getting to him. And he found out much later. And when he found out, it was literally like it was described like a wave hit him and he literally collapsed in shock. So, as we know the history, and my dear friends, I want you to read the beginning of the Priceless Pearl again. That's your homework, as they say. Read that so you get a bit of feeling of what the beloved guardian was going through when he was writing this, okay? So next we have Combies John. Combies John, can you read?
Yes, of course. The beloved guardian considered the tablets of the divine plan as his mandate for propagating and expanding the faith throughout the various territories and countries of the world. The first step was to empower the North American Baha'is as the recipients of these tablets to build the capacities needed to discharge the tasks they were given by Abdul Baha. It was equally important to guide the Baha'is community, the Baha'i community in North America, to develop the institutions that were to implement the plans.
Beautifully, beautiful. Thank you, Khambiz. So the beloved guardian considered the tablets again mandate for propagation and expansion. So this is his mandate. And this is the mandate for the entire formative age that we are all will be living in. And so this is the mandate for the formative age for propagation and expansion. The tablets of the divine plan. And the beloved guardian uses this as his mandate for all of his writings, the basis. And as we know, we have the institutions are based upon his mandate, such as the institution of the auxiliary board members, which it consists of propagation and anyone?
Expanding the faith.
Protection, I love it. So the two institutions, there you go. So there's the institution for the twin arms of the institution of the auxiliary board is the institution of propagation and protection. So you will see both of these institutions highlighted throughout the advent of divine justice, not named per se, but addressed. And so the first step was to empower the North American Baha'is. As you know, this was addressed to the North American Baha'is. And when we say North American Baha'is, who are we talking about? Does anyone know?
Canada. US and Canada?
That's right. Who said that? It sounded like Farzad John.
No.
Shaheen John? Who said that? I can't see everyone's faces. Well, it's on my side.
Kayvan John.
Oh, I love it, Kayvan John. Good job. Yes, United States and Canada, okay? So this is who it was written to, addressed to, but it doesn't mean it's just for those people, okay? In any level, okay? This is addressed to all Baha'is, and not even just Baha'is. This is the address to the whole world, okay? When the beloved guardian writes, it's addressed to everybody, okay? Now, and the design is to build the capacities. The capacities, where have we heard this capacity building thing before? Sounds familiar. And so this is the first, per se, capacity builder was the beloved guardian. He was the first capacity builder. And he was capacity building the American Baha'i community. And this is what he was doing by writing this letter, okay? Okay, excellent. Thank you, Khambiz John. Moving on. Mahnaz John, on pilgrimage at the seat of the Universal House of Justice, please go for it.
Historical context and significance. Guardian's message to North American Baha'is. From the earliest years, the beloved guardian conferred upon the Baha'is of North America a very special bounty in communicating to them a series of inspiring and challenging messages, and carefully delineating the tasks they were called upon to discharge. He set specific goals for them, emphasizing that through the achievement of those goals, they would fulfill their destiny as the chosen instruments for the execution of the divine plan of Abdul Baha.
Thank you, Mahnaz John.
You're welcome.
So I'm not going to say why America was chosen, because that's coming up and it's very interesting why, and you'll find out. but this is a very interesting. It's been conferred upon the Baha'is of North America a very special bounty. So it's going to come up in our, I think it's part 3, or if I'm right. But why was America chosen? It's very interesting. And so we're going to find that out. And then the beloved guardian delineates the tasks. What do you have to do as a Baha'i? And this is right now, not 1938, December 25th, 1938, when this was written, 124 paragraphs. It's right now. What do you have to do? Miss Yuda Miller, Miss Mahnaz, Farazad John, what do you have to do? Kayvon, what do you have to do at this point, at this time? It's very interesting. I love this. So now, I included this because this is the style of how the beloved guardian wrote. And again, read the first pages of The Priceless Pearl, okay? So that's your homework, dear friends, also, okay? As well as the first 3 paragraphs of Advent of Divine Justice. Okay, let me see, who's our next reader? I will pick the Californian, Vafa Bayat. Go for it. Okay.
All right, sure. Okay. The beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi on his typewriter. The guardian's method of writing was interesting. He did not like large pieces of paper, and usually wrote all his books and long communications on small lined pads. He did all his composition by hand. If the first draft was too written over, he sat down patiently and copied it all over. He typed on a very small, portable machine by the 2-finger method, all his own manuscripts, making any further changes as he went along. It is not surprising, therefore, that by this method he should have produced such highly polished works as we have from his pen.
Truly amazing and astounding. That's why I shared this with you, because as we go through this course and as you start reading the Advent of Divine Justice, how incredible. And I'm working on a course on God Passes By right now, and how he did these works with the 2-finger method, the typewriter, and how he did this with this pencil and papers, writing. And then I get blown away just reading this, because he's truly astounding, okay? How his composition, his mind is. So, moving on. Historical context. I'll read this one, dear friends. Among these messages, the Advent of Divine Justice stands out because of its frank and direct analysis of the basic ills afflicting American society, which threaten the spiritual life of individual Baha'is and the well-being of the Baha'i community. These maladies have not only intensified in their scope, implications, and influence since the time of the beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi, but they have been promoted and propagated by the powerful American entertainment industry and modern social media, and accepted globally by many societies as the norm for personal and social behavior. So
Sanjan got disconnected.
We lost him.
Maybe, yeah, we lost him totally.
Yeah.
He'll be back in a couple seconds.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing? Time
This
for a
thing
water
until
break.
you didn't have spell
Drink
check.
some water.
Allah Sada Khanum.
We have to create lots of trouble while the teacher is out of the room.
I like to say what a bounty to meet some of you over the last 2 weekends, and today is wonderful. Now we know each other more. Julie and Mary.
Yeah.
And Denise. Yes, yes.
It's such a small world because
Shall we call him on the phone?
Someone call him.
Shall we call him on the phone in case he doesn't know he's not with us?
Oh, I'm sure he knows.
He knows.
I can tell by the look on his face that he does know.
I'm gonna call him. Yeah.
Yeah, you can call him.
He knows.
Tell we'll still wait.
He just called me, said he's coming in a second. So sit back and relax. He'll be joining us in a second.
Just a reminder, everybody, we're still being recorded.
Sorry about that, everyone. Sorry. I don't know what happened. It was okay.
Where is he? Oh,
We weren't too bad, Asa.
Sorry. That was strange. I was talking and suddenly my screen changed. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Okay. Excellent. I'm coming. I'm just bringing everything back to where we were. We were on slide here. Okay, I'm perfectly back. Now let me share screen. Share. Okay, everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So as I was saying, sorry about that. As I was saying, this letter written December 25th, 1938, it stands out unique in the letters of the Beloved Guardian for its frank and direct analysis of the ills that are afflicting the American society at that point in time, and it has intensified. The ills have intensified since that writing of that letter. And some of these ills that are directly addressed, and we'll go into much greater detail in the further parts, are immorality, irreligion, and racial prejudice. And it's very exciting at this point, at this time, that I'm presenting this course on the subject of racial prejudice, because we will go into much greater detail on the origin of race, racism, as well as, what is the Baha'i solution to this problem? And these will all be parts of this course. And the Beloved Guardian wrote this to the American Baha'i community to tackle these problems internally. Because do you think, dear friends, we don't have racism in the American Baha'i community? Of course we do. You don't think we have immorality in the Baha'i community? Of course we do. We have all of these problems, and he is addressing it to us. We have to tackle them internally. And then he's so strong to challenge these problems internally that we can set it as a model for the greater community. So, okay, let me first make this large so everyone make it slideshow. There, good. Moving on. Okay, is Miss Sarah there? It was floating a while ago. Miss Sarah, are you there? Did I lose her? Maybe I've lost her. Okay. How about Miss Julie Johnson? Go for it.
All right. In a message dated 28 July 1954, while referring to the maladies afflicting the American society, Shoghi Effendi states, the steady and alarming deterioration in the standard of morality, as exemplified by the appalling increase of crime, by political corruption in ever widening and ever higher circles, by the loosening of the sacred ties of marriage, by the inordinate craving for pleasure and diversion, and by the marked and progressive slackening of parental control, is no doubt the most arresting and distressing aspect of the decline that has set in and can be clearly perceived in the fortunes of the entire nation. And this is from Citadel of Faith.
Now let's go through just a few of these, read them to yourself, you know. The steady and alarming deterioration in the standard of morality. Appalling increase of crime. Think about America. You don't think too much of crime in the 1911, 1912, you know, when this was written 1938. Wasn't too bad per se compared to nowadays, you know, in this, relatively speaking. Political corruption. We won't get into the ramifications of what's going on today, but political corruption, loosening of the sacred ties of marriage, inordinate craving for pleasure and diversion. Now, we'll get into a section on materialism, and because the beloved guardian talks about materialism, and so we'll talk about how there's such a massive rise of materialism in this country. And when it originated was after World War I, and how it just massively spiked in the sense of materialism in this country. And the marked progressive slackening of parental control. So these are the beloved guardian outlines as the most arresting and distressing aspect of the decline. So let's carry on. Let's see what else is in this section. We'll pick someone to read. How about Miss Deborah Burton? I'd like to hear your voice tonight.
It is reasonable to suggest that the guidance provided by the beloved guardian in the advent of divine justice to the American Baha'i community is equally valid and applicable to Baha'i communities all around the world. At the same time, the spiritual principles and counsels provided by Shoghi Effendi on how to purge such maladies from the behavior of the individual and the habits embedded in the Baha'i community are critical in building Baha'i communities that truly reflect the spiritual qualities and characteristics prescribed in the revelation of Baha'u'llah and prerequisites to serving the Baha'i cause.
So in these paragraphs, we find out the advent of divine justice, sure, it was written to the North American Baha'i community, but it's equally valid and applicable to all Baha'i communities, everywhere. And here we also see that it is critical. We have a few doctors here in this house, as they say, and these doctors know what critical means. You know, it's life or death, critical. It's absolutely vital in building Baha'i communities. So studying this great letter, if you want to understand what community building is that the House of Justice is writing and unfolding in its plans about community building, you have to have strong understanding of the first community building document, the Advent of Divine Justice, where the beloved guardian is setting this tone, the standard, the problems that the American Baha'i community at large and internally are suffering from, and what we need to do as American Baha'is to battle and eradicate. And the words that the beloved guardian, I urge you as we read these, and I'll give you homework assignments to read these paragraphs ahead, but take notes, highlight the words, the verbs that the beloved guardian uses, especially around these three weapons. And we'll talk about these weapons in the next slide. But the weapons what does he use when he talks about racism? How should we eradicate racism? He uses the word uproot, because it's literally a weed that has taken a hold of our American system. So you got to uproot it, you know, and it's taken a hold of our American Baha'i community. It's racism. There's racism in our community. It's a fact. We have to identify it, eliminate it, and uproot it like it's a weed. So we're going to address these. And we need to reflect on these qualities and characteristics for this rectitude of conduct, dear friends, that the beloved guardian says should be the hallmark and standard of our life. Rectitude of conduct, because it is the prerequisite to serving in the Baha'i cause. I remember Kayvon John, who's here present tonight, he was also my children's class teacher, and he talked about requisites of conduct. What a prerequisite means, you have to have this before you can, you know, do something. You have prerequisites, like, you know, you enter into university, you have to have prereqs, right? And prereqs are things that you have to have met before you can take a course, right? The prerequisites to serving the Baha'i cause, per se, is what is this, having this character. You got to have this character before you can say, I am a Baha'i. Because if you don't have this character, your reflection and image is flawed. We got to work on this, dear friends. That's what the beloved guardian is saying. You got to work on yourself. It's so important. Okay. Carrying on. Let's hear from Miss Mary McGregor. Love it. Go for it, Miss Mary.
Overview of the Advent of Divine Justice. The beloved guardian wrote the Advent of Divine Justice at the end of December of 1938, while he was staying in Europe because of the threat of terrorist activities in Palestine. This was the time that Europe itself was in such strife and discord that it eventually led to the outbreak of the Second World War a year later. Some of his statements in the Advent of Divine Justice clearly indicate that Shoghi Effendi anticipated the war, and accordingly, he directly and indirectly referred to the impending convulsions in his letter, warning the Baha'i community of their devastating consequences and impact.
Thank you, Miss Mary. So here he is preparing the Baha'i community for war. Really, it was coming 1 year later. And not only war, physical war, but internal war. I mean, how much suffering that was going on in the community. So he was preparing the Baha'i community to transform themselves internally, transform themselves and fight these roots of racism, because at that point in time, in 1938, that it was written, there was still high degree, there was, slavery was still, I believe, around, because it was in 1963, I believe, if my dates are, was civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
I have to double check the dates, but 1938, no, I'm sorry about that. It was 1863 was, slavery was banned, but still 1938, there was, the African Americans were still subclass citizens in America. Subclass citizens. And it was not, they had really no degrees of, per se, freedoms. So this is a time period that this was written. Even the beloved guardian did not have his freedom. He was writing from Europe, and we'll talk about why he was there, what was going on in Palestine in the upcoming parts. Okay? Okay, Zamruhi John, go for it. Can you read this?
Sure.
Overview of the Advent of Divine Justice. The Advent of Divine Justice was addressed to the Baha'is of the United States and Canada, the community that is praised by Shoghi Effendi in the letter as the chief remaining citadel of the Baha'i faith in the 1930s. However, the issues raised and the guidance provided are applicable to any Baha'i community, particularly at this time when the pace of disintegration of the old order has significantly increased and its negative influence on the followers of Baha'u'llah has intensified. Understanding the standards set in the Advent of Divine Justice is fundamental to building a vibrant community based on the spiritual principles and pattern of behavior revealed by Baha'u'llah in his writings.
So there's going to be an interesting terminology here: disintegration and integration. These will be explored by the beloved guardian at great detail in this letter. The first time the beloved guardian uses this terminology is in the World Order of Baha'u'llah. And he brings it up in his last letter of the World Order of Baha'u'llah. And as we don't have much time to go into great detail tonight, I'll bring it up in a future part, okay? So, but the disintegration, that is, these are twin processes that are happening in the world. One is the breakdown of all the old modes, structures, ideologies that are prevalent in society. And integration is what we, as Baha'is, are doing to build this new race of men. So two processes that are happening. And the beloved guardian, later on, he talks about one of these is moving much faster. And you can guess which one it is disintegration. It's the process of disintegration. It is moving much faster. And he even writes a lovely letter. He says, this process of disintegration is moving at great speed. And he tells the Baha'is not to be saddened or sorrowed or disheartened or uncomfortable by what is going on in the world, but press on, stay strong, be valiant, and keep at it, as they say. Okay, so now we're getting into these major themes, and I love this, and I'm going to read this myself. So these are three major themes that stand out in this great letter. And always remember, it's not a book, dear friends. The beloved guardian only wrote one book. Sure, it's a long letter, but does anyone know which book he was the only book that the guardian wrote?
This one, the Advent of.
God Passes By. God Passes By was the only book that he wrote himself. And I'm working on that one as a course. That's going to be a major undertaking. But this, even though this is 124 paragraphs, this is a phenomenally long letter. This is still an epistle of the beloved guardian. These are the three major themes of this great letter. The qualities characterizing the life of the individuals in the American Baha'i community. The qualities characterizing the life of individuals in the American Baha'i community. Okay? And I have a picture here, so I'm going to go through it so you can see where my thinking is in these pictures. I have an armor here. And armor, even in the Bible, it talks about putting on the armor of the love of God. It protects us. It is rectitude of conduct that the beloved guardian talks about the Baha'i community should have. And he goes into great detail of the qualities of this rectitude of conduct, this armor of the love of God. So the qualities and characterizing the life of the individuals in the American Baha'i community. Major theme of Advent of Divine Justice. Number two, major theme, Advent of Divine Justice, is the nature of the systematic plans and actions required for the expansion and consolidation of the Baha'i faith in that community towards its destiny as envisaged by Abdul Baha. So how do you conduct your teaching plans? How do you conduct your plans to go and teach anyone in, so this is how do you do it systematically? This is the second one. And so I have swords here, and two swords, interestingly, because the Beloved Guardian uses the term double crusade. Okay, so, and the term double crusade, the Beloved Guardian uses in this great letter, is referred to the battle that we as Baha'is should be fighting internally in our Baha'i community to eradicate immorality, to eradicate irreligion, to eradicate racial prejudices in our community, and then work on this double crusade to fight these problems in the greater community. You see, you follow? So this is the double crusade, and how we have to put on this armor, which I talked about in the first one, to protect us in this battle. So this is the double crusade. And because if we're going to go into systematic teaching plans that we talk about, and we'll have great length about talking about teaching plans, and I hope all of your great communities across Texas are endeavoring in teaching plans. And as we go through this, you can also be thinking at the institutional level, at the local level, of how can I work on our own teaching plans as a community based upon what the Beloved Guardian is talking about. The third point, major theme, is interaction between the American Baha'i community and the wider society. Okay? Now this is how the Beloved Guardian talks about how should the Baha'is work together. It's incredibly, I love it. And I have a picture of an African-American gentleman and a white person, black and white here, in embracing love. It is, when we get into the parts on where the Beloved Guardian talks on race and in great detail, it's so phenomenal. And we see what is going on in society. And if the Baha'i community should be so strong on the history of racism in this country that they can address these issues. So this is also going to be your homework in future sections on studying up on racism in this country, okay? These will be homeworks. I want you to really take this seriously as we go through it. Excellent. Shaheen John, you are next. I see you thinking very thoughtfully there. Go for it.
All right, so overview of the Advent of Divine Justice. The Beloved Guardian identifies the faults, habits, and tendencies that the North American Baha'is have inherited from their own nation, while he highlights the necessity of weeding out such harmful vices. He also describes the distinctive qualities and characteristics that the North American Baha'i community must patiently and prayerfully cultivate and acquire. Shogh Effendi specifically pinpoints the most challenging issues in the wider American society as moral laxity, corruption, and racial prejudice. Moral laxity, corruption, and racial prejudice. He highlights the great need for American Baha'is to root out such evils from their own lives, communities, and strive to conduct a chaste and holy life that is adorned with rectitude and conduct and free and rectitude of conduct and free from all types of prejudice.
Thank you, Shaheen Jan. Thank you. So, excellent. So these are faults, habits, and tendencies that we have inherited from the greater community. And he is saying that we should weed them out. Weed them out. They have taken a hold. If any of you are gardeners, you know how tough weeding is, you know? It's backbreaking, it's tiring, it's exhausting, and you have to keep at it, or else the weeds reemerge, right? You can't just say, oh, we talked about racism in our Baha'i community 5 years ago. You know, it was a great topic. You know, an NSA member came, he gave such a great talk on racism. We addressed it. It's done. We don't have to talk about it anymore. No, weeds reemerge in our community, and we have to keep at it. Even these, you know, might be uncomfortable. It might be unpleasant, you know, and it might even hurt some people's feelings in the sense of addressing, getting over these problems. But it needs to be addressed over and over and over again till it's not an uncomfortable thing. It's second nature to us, talking about these issues. You see? So moral laxity, corruption, and racial prejudices are topics that we have to keep bringing up in our communities. How can we talk about these? These are topics that are meaningful conversations, right? How can you bring these up in our meaningful conversations to greater society, right? And as you go and study these topics in greater detail by the beloved guardian, you could be holding, you know, invite your friends in meaningful conversations on moral laxity in the greater community, corruption in the greater community, as long as you don't bring in political things, you know, and talking about, but racial prejudice, and how are we presenting the solution to it? I mean, how wonderful would that be? This is meaningful conversations. Now, and then at last here, how can we strive to conduct a chaste and holy life? Chaste, the virtue is chastity, and we're going to get into all the ramifications of chastity. And chaste and holy life is primarily directed at the youth. And we're going to find out, you know, who each one of these are primarily addressed to, okay? These three weapons, chaste and holy life. Weapon, number one, entire big chunk of part of the opening of the entire advent of divine justice, chaste and holy life, primarily directed at our beloved youth and younger to create that life that is adorned with, and then rectitude and conduct. It's addressed to obviously the whole Baha'i community, but principally to our administrators that are serving the institutions of our cause, rectitude of conduct. Now, number three, free from all types of prejudice. And really here, the beloved guardian is addressing racial prejudice. And who do you think he is addressing here?
Us, all of us.
Every single person. This is the most important one in the sense of hierarchy, because the beloved guardian addresses the elimination, freedom from racial prejudice to children, to junior youth, adult. And we'll find this in this letter. And he says it's to every Baha'i, and it's the most vital and challenging issue. This is the only one out of these three directly addressed to all three, to all of us, okay? And we'll see it in, I believe, in our next slide. So we'll see that here. Okay, the major themes covered in the Advent of Divine Justice can be summarized as follows. The spiritual attributes that should adorn every major individual Baha'i ensure the success and progress of the Baha'i faith. The importance of human and social relationships referred to as the spiritual outer life, which should be reflected in the life of every Baha'i, in addition to the spiritual inner life. The basic ills afflicting the American body politic. The new challenges and opportunities that are created for the American believers as a result of world events. And this is interesting, I highlight this because the beloved guardian in the last pages of the Advent of Divine Justice goes into great detail about prophecies of His Holiness Baha'u'llah. And he goes in talking about all the, you know, things that are going to come, crises that are going to come, challenges, problems. And the beloved guardian even, foretells about the impending war, World War II. And this was written 1938, December 25th, 1938. And we know in 1939, World War II started. So he talks about all of these crises that are coming. The role of the American believers in the advancement of the Baha'i cause in the years to come. So these are some of the major themes that we have summarized here. Now, here is a few of this is from His Holiness Baha'u'llah that I've shared here with you. In a number of his tablets, His Holiness Baha'u'llah refers to his revelation as the advent of divine justice. Now, this is awesome. I find this awesome that, how the beloved guardian chooses the names for his works. And this is why he chose Advent of Divine Justice. Because His Holiness Baha'u'llah refers to his whole revelation as the advent of divine justice. Here it says, he summons the people of the world. Bestir yourselves, O people, in anticipation of the days of divine justice, for the promised hour is now come. Beware lest ye fail to apprehend its import and be accounted among the erring. And in another tablet, His Holiness Baha'u'llah asserts, in this day the straight path is made manifest, the balance of divine justice is set, and the light of the sun of his bounty is resplendent. Yet the oppressive darkness of the people of tyranny hath, even as clouds, intervened and caused a grievous obstruction between the day star of heavenly grace and the people of the world. Bestir yourselves. What does bestir mean? Anyone? Bestir, what does that mean?
Wake up. All right.
Wake up, wake up. I know we're getting late. Bestir yourselves, O people of Texas. Shake up. Yes. Shake up, bestir. We're almost done. We've got a few more slides. Bestir yourselves. I love this first quote, and I'll share it why. Because in the first part, it says, bestir yourselves, O people, in anticipation of the days of divine justice. So here, advent of divine justice. Now, next line, for the promised hour is come. Now, the beloved guardian wrote another letter in 1941 called, anyone? The promised day is come. The promised day is come. And I've completed the course on that. And so I'm going to record that one. And it's amazing. And it really, you get an understanding of this twin process of integration and disintegration. That, and also the time period of all the letters that were written to the kings and the Queen Victoria, the kings that all rejected His Holiness Baha'u'llah. And then the beloved guardian writes the consequences of what each one of them, did by rejecting them. So promised day is come. It's an incredible letter. We have a course, and we're going to record that course for you. Okay.
But don't you think right now that God has bestirred the people of the world right now with everything that's going on? He is waking mankind up with the pandemic, with the racial injustices, with just everything. He is waking us up. He's bestirring us now.
Great point, Deborah. So this is the process. There's two processes that are going on. One is the greater process. And the greater process that is, and who do you think is the one doing that?
Baha'u'llah.
The man upstairs, God, yes. Right? Yes. He's the man upstairs. God is doing this one. He is at play on this. And this greater process is this process of disintegration, okay? And this other process is this process of integration. We're going to go into great detail, and you're absolutely spot on, Deborah. There is He is doing everything he can to bestir people, you know, get people to open their eyes. And there's a quote from His Holiness Baha'u'llah where he says, till the limbs of men quake. You know, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. People have to open their eyes. They are so blind until the limbs of men quake. And then where will they turn? We are the last fortress of solitude, you know? And we have to have set the standards that are outlined here in this letter. We have to have this rectitude of conduct. We have to eliminate racial prejudice in our community to set it as an example for everywhere else. We have to do these things, or else when they say, when the limbs of men quake, they go say, where do I turn? Do I turn to the Baha'i community? They still racially prejudiced. They don't have much of a character. Why should I turn to there? So we have to work on it here so to set it as an example. You see what I'm saying? So excellent point, Miss Deborah. Now, another instance, this is even before His Holiness Baha'u'llah addressed this term of advent of divine justice. Miss Mahnaz, could you please read this?
Sure. The blessed Bab also refers to the days of his revelation and the revelation of he whom God shall make manifest. An example, Baha'u'llah, as the days of the advent of divine justice. These are the appointed days which ye have been yearning, awaiting in the past, the days of the advent of divine justice. Render ye thanks unto God, O ye concourse of believers.
So it's not just per se the revelation of His Holiness Baha'u'llah. These are the twin manifestations of God. It's the message manifestations of God, the revelations of His Holiness the Bab and Baha'u'llah is the advent of divine justice. So when you hear what is the advent of divine justice, it's the revelations of the Blessed Bab and Baha'u'llah, and how we as the American Baha'i community should implement these teachings in our life to transform the Baha'i community here and then greater society. Okay, I will read this one. In the advent of divine justice, the beloved guardian identifies some of the major ideals and standards in the revelation of Baha'u'llah that underline divine justice, which are severely compromised by American society. Shoghi Effendi specifically elaborates on racial prejudice and immoral conduct as the most pressing issues in a society that is diametrically opposite to the standards of divine justice enshrined in the revelation of Baha'u'llah. Shoghi Effendi states that these issues must be addressed by every individual Baha'i and the Baha'i collectively. So for your information, I sent this entire presentation, all 24 parts of it, to the Universal House of Justice and to the research department to review. And one of the members of the research department even mentioned this slide individually and said that we should address this slide diametrically opposite, should be highlighted here. Because it's so important that the standards that are being outlined by the beloved guardian is so complete opposite. Diametrically means 180, right? Complete opposite to what the society is propagating. And that is why it is so important to study this letter. Okay? Let's have, Roya John, are you still with us?
Yes.
There you go. Beautiful. Go for it, Roya John.
The beloved guardian maintains that racial prejudice has attacked the whole social structure of the American society. It should be regarded as constituting the most vital and challenging issue confronting the Baha'i community at the present stage of its evolution. At the same time, the rectitude of conduct with its implications of justice, equity, truthfulness, honesty, fair-mindedness, reliability, and trustworthiness must distinguish every phase of the life of the Baha'i community.
And we can see so clearly that this letter is so applicable to what's going on right now. Attacked the whole structure of American society: racism, racial prejudice, most vital and challenging issue confronting the Baha'i community. And I want you to, as we start getting into the sessions on race and racism, to read up on this issue, the origin of race, racism. If you've ever come across the book Stamped from the Beginning, incredible book by Ibram Kendi, read these, study up, because if we are ever going to address this issue within the Baha'i community, you should be strong on this issue. And you could say, oh, I love everyone. Oh, I have a black friend. Oh, I'm not racist. These are not ways to eradicate and uproot this subject. We have to be very frank, as the beloved guardian is in this letter. Very frank. We have to be very open and very straight about who we are and be so loving, burning love to everyone that we come across, okay? So, but we also have to build our knowledge base about the sufferings of the African-American people in this country, okay? That is your long-term life homework I'm going to give to you, okay? And that's it, dear friends, part 1.
Thank you so much.
So that was part 1. Let me stop the share so we can see everyone's beautiful faces again. I'm so proud of you guys. You endured, you suffered, you heard. But that was part 1. Part 2, we're going to go into paragraphs 1 through 3. So that's your homework. And your secondary part of your homework is to read the beginnings of Priceless Pearl, to get a feeling of what the beloved guardian went through after His Holiness Abdul Baha passed away. And suddenly the mantle of the guardianship was placed on him. And then very shortly after, of 1921, then he started having to slowly start writing these letters to build the institutions to get to that point of 1938, where now they were ready for Advent of Divine Justice. So look at that. What does the Priceless Pearl say in that period of his incredible suffering? So that's your homework, dear friends. Very proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Great job.
I'm very proud of each one of you. So next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, okay? I'm sorry it ran a little long tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ace and John. It was wonderful.
Have a wonderful night.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Bye, Bruce.
Bye.
You all.